Have you ever had that feel, that little nagging sense that maybe you're, well, a bit different, that you don't quite fit the standard mold?
Mm-hmm.
Well, today we're going to dive into some really interesting ideas from Gaia and some other sources you shared with us, all about something called starseeds.
Yes, it's quite a topic.
Could that feeling, that sense of being different, be more than just, personality? Could it actually hint at some kind of cosmic connection?
That's the core question, isn't it?
Exactly. So that's our mission for this deep dive,
Huh?
to explore what these sources are actually suggesting about our potential links to the wider universe.
In the landscape of these beliefs, well, looking at the sources you provided, it's pretty fascinating. Gaia, for example, they really push this idea that we all have kind of cosmic DNA.
Cosmic DNA.
Yeah, not just the biological stuff we know, but like
Yeah.
a deeper energetic code.
Mm.
It holds this latent potential for, well, things like self-healing, maybe even devolving beyond our current physical self.
Evolving.
Potentially enabling us to live on other planets someday. That's
Yeah.
hinted at. They also suggest a pretty compelling origin story for it.
Oh.
They bring up the idea that ancient extraterrestrials, like the Anunnaki figures you hear about, might have actually played a part in jump-starting this cosmic DNA within humanity, sort of a catalyst event.
Okay, cosmic DNA. Let's try and unpack that a little. So it's like our regular DNA, but maybe with extra features activated.
Sort of. It's presented as more fundamental, maybe,
Hmm.
holding these dormant abilities.
And this potential for self-healing and, wow, interplanetary living. Is Gaia suggesting that's biological or more a consciousness shift or...
It seems to lean towards an inner awakening, unlocking potentials that are already there. It's tied into this idea of the body being a microcosm of the macrocosm,
Yeah.
that ancient wisdom perspective.
Right, so the connection is already inside us.
Exactly. And Gaia, well, they do state pretty clearly their belief that humanity was actually seeded by extraterrestrials.
Whoa, okay. Seated. That's a huge concept right there.
It implies a direct intervention, yes. A very different view of our origins.
But then, okay, the sources go even further, don't they? Suggesting some people aren't just carrying this cosmic DNA, but are actually extraterrestrial souls in human bodies.
That's the next layer, yeah.
Yeah.
These are the ones typically labeled starseeds.
So how would you even begin to recognize someone like that? I mean, what are the clues supposed to be?
Well, the sources give us a few ways to look at it. Guy talks about them being individuals with past lives that weren't on Earth.
Okay.
Or, alternatively, souls who have these really deep connections to what they call higher dimensional being.
Higher dimensions. Like different realities.
Kind of, yeah. Different levels of existence, maybe.
Yeah.
Then the other texts you share, they add this idea of starseed hybrids.
Hybrids.
Like the Syrian and Lyrian example mentioned. Beings who seem to resonate with frequencies that aren't typically native to Earth.
Non-Earth native frequencies. Okay, that definitely ties back to that feeling of being out of sync, doesn't it?
It really does.
That sense of never really fitting in just keeps coming up. It's like being at a party but feeling like you're sort of watching it all from behind glass.
Exactly. That's a very common description. And the sources list a whole range of other recurring traits.
Like what?
Well, a really deep connection to space is mentioned a lot.
Mm.
Or the stars, the oceans, animals.
Okay.
And there's this intuitive thing, too.
Mm-hmm.
A sense of knowing things you were never formally taught.
Right, like it's just there. Inherent knowledge, maybe. Or echoes from somewhere else.
Could be. Gaia also really highlights this heightened sensitivity and what you might call extrasensory abilities.
You mean like strong empathy, picking up on feelings?
Yes, that.
Yeah.
Maybe even bordering on telepathic connections, being able to connect beyond just words.
Like they're just tuned in differently, on a wider bandwidth or something.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And Gaia suggests these abilities can show up in lots of ways.
How so?
Things like a natural knack for self-healing, really strong intuition, even potential for things like remote viewing or clairvoyance. And they even mention the possibility of interacting with time differently. It gets pretty far out there.
It really does.
They also mention that starseeds often feel emotions very deeply, although that sensitivity can sometimes make them shut down a bit as a way to cope,
Yeah, overload. That makes sense. And the other texts, the pasted ones, they added some really specific, almost quirky signs,
Okay.
like being moved to tears by certain sounds
Yeah.
or music frequencies, Waking up feeling like you've definitely been somewhere else.
Yes, those vivid experiences.
Or even suddenly speaking or writing things that seem totally out of character, maybe even in unusual languages or symbols. It really paints a picture, doesn't it? Someone with a foot in two different worlds.
It does. And you can see those moments as times when those non-earthly energies are particularly strong.
Or memories bubbling up.
Exactly. Fragments from other lifetimes or dimensions sort of bleeding through into the everyday. Their cosmic blueprint briefly overriding the normal Earth experience, maybe.
Okay, so let's maybe zoom in a bit. The sources mention specific types of starseeds, right? Like Syrians.
Yes, the Spirit Nomad source gave quite a bit on Syrian starseeds. They mentioned a really deep love for animals, especially whales, dolphins, cats.
Interesting. Any reason why?
They link it to Sirius B, describing it as a water planet. So maybe a resonance with certain life forms or environments from their perceived home system.
Huh, okay. What else about Syrians?
The profile suggests they're often quite shy, reserved, preferring to observe rather than be the center of attention.
Watchers.
Yeah, and analytical. They tend to prefer small groups and deep conversations over big gatherings and, small talk.
Makes sense. Deeper connections.
Right. And trust is apparently hard-earned for them. They can be quite wary of other people's motives.
Delicious.
Very. Emotionally, it seems they process things internally, so they might look a bit cool or distant on the outside.
Even if they're not.
Exactly. But they're described as being very good, loyal friends once you gain that trust. They have this deep inner world, always kind of seeking truth.
And that connection to nature you mentioned.
Yeah, a deep care for protecting nature, a sense of being one with other species, really aware of that interconnectedness.
Okay, and then what about Lyrans? That was another one, right? From Lyra.
Yes, Lyran starseeds. Said to originate from the Lyra constellation, specifically the star Vega.
Vega. Got it.
One source described them as ancient souls. Apparently their home system faced destruction by a group called the Draconians.
Yeah.
And they sought refuge elsewhere, including Earth.
Wow, okay, so a heavy history there. Does that show up in their traits?
Well, they're often characterized by that deep sense of being an old soul, carrying a lot of wisdom, maybe from that long history.
Right.
Core traits seem to be a fundamental trust in how things unfold, trust the process, inner strength, resilience, and patience, a measured approach. Maybe lessons learned from their past.
That tracks. But interestingly, did the source also mention something about extreme sports?
Yes, that was a surprising one. Alongside the ancient wisdom and patience, a love for pushing physical limits.
A real contrast.
It is. The source also mentions potential healing abilities. They're sometimes seen as early keepers of ancient knowledge on Earth.
Okay, healers and historians, maybe.
Something like that. And they have a healthy skepticism towards new information. Again, maybe because they've seen a lot. They value proof.
Understandable.
Yeah, well. Keen intuition. Good at spotting liars, apparently. The source mentioned potentially powerful sacral and root chakras, suggesting creativity and groundedness.
Grounded but ancient. Interesting mix.
And yeah, often history buffs. Love archaeology, ancient wisdom. That fits the old soul idea.
Definitely.
Also an interest in things like magic, the supernatural, divination. A connection to the element of fire was mentioned too.
Fire, okay. And potent manifestation abilities.
That's what it says. And a sense of inner contentment. Not really focused on piling up material possessions. They seem to have a strong inner compass.
They really sound like it. Anything else stand out for Lyrnans?
They seem to love a good challenge, testing their abilities. And they tend to prefer leadership roles, but driven by a desire to help others.
Natural leaders, maybe?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
People are often drawn to their quiet confidence, but like Syrians, they tend to prefer smaller, meaningful groups.
Okay. And one last thing. Frustration with the third dimension.
Yes. Feeling limited by our current physical reality, that impatience can surface.
So, for both Syrians and Lyrans, there's this definite sense of purpose. Isn't there a mission here on Earth?
Absolutely. A mission to help Earth and humanity evolve, spiritually speaking. That's the general theme.
But the specifics differ.
Somewhat, yeah. For Lyrans, the mission is described as guiding Earth's soul evolution, awakening humans from just focusing on physical life towards 4D or 5D awareness.
Higher dimensions again.
Right. Promoting abundance thinking, liberation, and even preparing humanity for connection with a wider galactic community, like a Federation of Light. They're seen as ancient guides.
Okay. And the Syrian mission?
More focused on helping Earth remember its divine purpose, shifting focus from separation to connection, raising the planet's vibration, helping us connect with source energies.
So potentially spiritual teachers, healers.
That's the idea. And those Jules examples in the other text gave some really concrete ways this mission might look in practice.
Right. Things like frequency anchoring. What's that?
Holding a higher vibration to help stabilize it for everyone else, kind of like a tuning fork.
Okay. And emotional decoding. System disruption.
Helping understand complex emotions, maybe breaking down old, outdated structures or ways of thinking that no longer serve us, bridging frequencies too, and reminding humans how to really feel.
It sounds like they're here to help us recalibrate on a really fundamental level.
That's a great way to put it. They're presented as catalysts for change, facilitators for a shift in collective consciousness.
But it's not necessarily easy for them, is it?
No, as the guy sources pointed out, it can be a real double-edged sword. Knowing you have a mission can be empowering, sure,
Yeah.
but the density here, the lower vibration, the limitations of Earth, it can feel really foreign, uncomfortable, leading to that constant feeling of being an outsider, the black sheep.
Like trying to run, I don't know, super advanced software on an old clunky computer. There's just a basic incompatibility.
That's a good analogy, yeah.
So if someone listening thinks, hey, some of this sounds like me, how do they tap into that potential? Is there a switch to flip?
Well, Gaia suggests it's less about learning something new and more about an inherent quality that just awakens as the soul evolves, as you open up to your own inner energy.
It's already there, it just needs activating.
Pretty much. The Lyran source did mention specific symbols, though, like the vulture, eagle, the lyre, or harp, lions, even house cats,
As triggers?
possibly, like resonant keys, maybe.
Oh.
Reminders of their Lyran origins, helping to activate that connection.
That's fascinating, using symbols like energetic keys. And the other texts emphasized remembering you're not alone in this, right?
Exactly. That your real family, your soul group, might be communicating in subtle ways.
How?
Through dreams, intuition, gut feelings, even physical sensations, music, moments of sudden joy or laughter. It's about learning to tune into those quieter channels.
Paying attention to the subtle signals.
And that Jules example brought up a really powerful idea, too, that when you work through your own stuff, your own wounds and healing,
Yeah.
you essentially create these energetic codes or pathways that then make it easier for other people to heal similar things.
That's paving the way.
Exactly, a ripple effect, starting with your own inner transformation.
Wow. Okay. So as we kind of wrap up this exploration, the big question is still hanging there, isn't it? Could you be a starseed?
Hmm.
As we've talked through all these traits, these feelings, these potential origins, did anything really click for you? Did you recognize that feeling of not quite belonging or that pull towards the stars?
This dive into the sources certainly gives you a lot to think about. A really rich and, yeah, provocative perspective on how we might be connected to the universe.
It really does.
And if any of these ideas sparked something in you, a sense of recognition, maybe some curiosity, well, maybe that's a thread worth pulling on, exploring a bit more.
And maybe that leads us to the final thought we wanted to leave you with today. If it is true that many of us carry this cosmic DNA, or are maybe even, as some sources suggest, souls from elsewhere choosing to be here now,
Yeah.
how radically could that change how we see ourselves, how we see this planet, our place in the whole cosmic scheme of things?
It's a huge shift in perspective.
Could that nagging feeling that I don't quite fit in sense actually be, well, a clue, a hint of a much bigger, much more cosmic heritage than we usually imagine?
It definitely makes you wonder.
Perhaps your next step, if you're curious, is to maybe look more into these ideas. Cosmic DNA, the different star systems mentioned like Sirius and Lyra, this whole concept of interdimensional connections.
There's a lot out there if you want to keep exploring.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today. Lots to ponder.